Zach here from Universal Air, and today we're going to go over how to properly adjust your coilovers for your air system. Let's go. Today we're working on this 2015 Mitsubishi Lancer, and we're installing a set of our Solution Series struts. And we want to go over the proper way to adjust the coilovers because there's so much adjustability in them that you're able to actually make the car go down too low and sacrifice your ride along with the lift. So now when it comes time to adjusting the coilovers, your typical thought would be, oh well, let's make it go down as low as possible. So in this scenario right here, we've gone ahead and threaded down the shock body in the lower bracket as far down as possible until it barely clears the CV boot. And at this point, when you put your wheel on and you jack the suspension all the way up, of course the tire is going to hit the inner fender well and you think that you're going to be good. Well, the downside there is because we've shorted it up so far, we're going to limit the amount of travel downwards we can get. So when we're driving at a decent ride height to have clearance for our tires, we're going to end up topping out the suspension. Let me go ahead and show you the differences. Here we are with the suspension fully bottomed out. The tire is sitting all the way up in the inner fender well, and it can't go any lower unless you start cutting out inner fender wells. So if we look at it from this angle here, the fender lip itself is about flush with the lip of the wheel. And when we raise it up, that's all the way up as far as the suspension will go. Our total travel that we have at this height, about 3¼ inches of travel. Now this might be acceptable for some people, but I prefer to have about this much travel at your ride height, opposed to if you want to have your tire, say, sitting at this height, you only have this much travel until you're topping out your suspension. Let's go ahead and show what the difference will be if we actually adjust the coilovers properly. So this is the actual height that it bottoms out at. If we were to measure from the center of the hub up to the inner fender well, we're at about 12 inches. The challenge being that the customer's tires are 26 inches overall height. So by doing this, we're sacrificing an inch of total lift, but still maintaining the same amount of drop. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're going to unthread the shock body out of the lower bracket, and that'll essentially lengthen the coilover to give us more droop travel, but yet still not limit our drop because our tires are going to be still hitting on this inner fender well. So when it comes time to adjusting the coilovers, what we want to do is we remove the airline off the back side of the bag so the bag is not connected to the line. You go ahead and break this bottom lock nut loose, and all you have to do is turn the whole assembly. Because we run a bearing on the top and it's threaded on the bottom, we don't actually have to remove the strut out of the vehicle, just adjust it while it's in here. Since we know we were an inch too low, we went ahead and lengthened this coilover by an inch. We left this nut to the exact location and then threaded it out, so we have an inch gap between the nut and the locking washer. Let's go ahead and compress it up and see how it looks. So by lengthening the shock out of the lower bracket, we have our suspension collapse all the way up here. And if we go ahead and measure from the center of our wheel, or our hub, up to the inner fender, we're at about 12¾ I know from personal experience, usually you can cheat and get a little bit more out with the tire flexing and the inner fender well plastics going. So at this height right here, we've maximized our drop and still maximize our lift. And right now is a good time to go ahead and check our sway bar travels. This vehicle doesn't have a bonded sway bar to where the sway bar can move and it'll stay in that position. Some vehicles will have a bonded bar where if you push it down and you let go, it's going to automatically return back up to that ride height. Since this one doesn't have it, we're fully compressed now, we want to make sure we're not actually going to be binding our sway bar. So at this position here, we're able to connect the sway bar in link and it's not going to be binding up. So we know our sway bar travels good at the fully compressed height. We'll go ahead and check it again at the fully extended height. It is worth noting you are able to measure out your bag depending on which bag manufacturer you're using. On our particular Solution Series struts here that we're doing, the bag collapses out about 2 inches. From the top of the bag down to the bottom. So if you compress the suspension all the way up and measure it and see if you're at your compressed height. For most of our bags, the bellow themselves will roll flush up with the caps top and bottom, but different bags will have different collapse heights, which makes this, doing it by the measurement method, a little difficult depending on which bag it is that you're working with. But of course you always want to double check your tire clearances once you get your length set on
on your shocks.
Here we are back with the wheel and tire back on, suspension compressed all the way up, and amount of drop height is the same. If we go ahead and raise it up, that's about where we stopped at last time. Now we get more lift out of it. So with this thing fully extended, we're going to have about 4 inches between the lip of the fender and our top of our wheel. So with that extra inch of travel, when we go ahead and get to our normal ride height, we're going to be about mid-stroke on the suspension, which will give us the best ride and handling out of it, and still be able to keep our maximum drop out of it. If we needed more lift out of it, then we can of course always lengthen it up and sacrifice a little bit on the drop side, but who wants to do that? Now that we have our length set, we want to go ahead and check our bag clearance. If we look out here straight from above the top of the tire, just barely above the top part of the tire, so we know we're never going to have our tire hit in the actual bag. If this was to have to be down lower, we'd have to worry about the bellow coming in contact with the top crown of the tire when he's all the way dropped. But seeing as that we have plenty of space in here, it's not going to be a concern. Well, that's going to do it for today. I hope you guys found this information helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to see more in the future, and we'll see you soon.